Well, hi, Lindsay, and welcome to the Rebuilding My Health Radio podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today to talk about your personal story.
Thank you, Casey. I'm super pumped to be here.
Yeah, well, I saw you speak at a health conference and knew that I wanted to have you share your story here. So, let's kind of go back to the start. You've been on quite an unexpected journey the past few years. Kind of take us back to when everything really started changing for you.
So, about a decade ago, when I was 32 at the time, I had two little girls at home and I was pregnant with my third, kind of crushing my career in tech, working in early AI and machine learning for programmatic media applications, and married, living in Westchester and outside of New York City. Everything seemed to be going perfectly in my world. I had just IPO'd a company as an executive and was, kind of rolling in life for the first time probably in my whole life. And I got hit by a car while I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter. And my mom had always taught us that pain can be your best teacher if you let it, if you learn the lesson. And unfortunately, it took me several years to kind of learn that lesson for myself. And I had a very tumultuous, expensive, arduous healing journey over the next couple of years, because that accident, luckily, my daughter was born healthy, about a week early. She was a healthy 9 pounds, 1 ounce when she was born. And when she was born, I thought that I was okay, but the accident had actually triggered massive autoimmune. And so a little while after that, all of my hair started to fall out. I had crushing pain in my body and I had a fever for 10 weeks. I couldn't get out of bed, just chronic fatigue. And I had a booming business still and like a posse of children at home. So like 3 little girls at home. And I didn't have time to be sick and laying in bed. And so I went through this crazy journey and learned the hard way that you can't change everything in your life, in your diet and lifestyle. And as I mentioned on stage, I made very big changes, in terms of like moving homes and, changing my whole career and my entire diet. And I took everything out of my diet, put it back in. And I came out the other side feeling really good about myself. But then just as I was patting myself on the back for making all of these great changes and really sticking to it and feeling so much better, my daughter started to she started to exhibit symptoms of chronic illness. And, I always joke that like as adults, we'll kind of do just about enough to
Yeah.
get ourselves healthy. But when it comes to our children, we will literally move mountains and travel to the ends of the earth and back. And so that's where my journey, I feel like, really began, is when my daughter became sick, because I realized that I couldn't do the same things that I had done in my own life with a 3.5-year-old.
hmm Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's very, very different. From every standpoint, that, diet or supplements or whatever, entirely different with a small, like a child that young, for sure.
A
Um,
3.5-year-old is
yeah.
pretty much living off of like pizza, pasta, chicken fingers, French fries. Our
Yeah.
children eat the healthiest food in this country. And as a health focused person, I tried to make as many changes, organic, grass fed, free range,
Mhm.
sneaking vegetables into meals as much as possible. But, there's only so much you can do with a toddler.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. Or even with older kids, it's really hard for sure. Um, I want to dig into kind of each of your stories a little bit more. So, kind of, first off, I'm curious, you had gotten a couple of autoimmune diagnoses. Would you share more about that?
Yeah, so I've never, uh, I was never really familiar with all of the hundreds of autoimmune conditions, except
Yeah.
for lupus, because my grandmother had lupus and she died after 10 years of really a painful experience with autoimmune. And when I started going to a myriad of different doctors to find out what was going on, I mean, first I went to a cardiologist because all of the pain seemed to be centered around my heart. And then I went to, all sorts of endocrinologists and research scientists, and I had every test done under the sun. And finally, uh, one of the doctors who I really trusted and respected said, "I think you have rhupus." And I said, "God bless you. What did you say?" Is that really is that a thing? And she said, it's kind of the combination of rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. And I just had a flashback to my grandfather, like rubbing my grandmother's back and her just having a pill box stuffed with all of these pills and pain pills. And they prescribed really heavy medication when I was first diagnosed. And the medication exacerbated all of my issues and made everything almost 10 times worse. Because now I'm on heavy steroids and I'm feeling bloated and run down. And yes, my pain was being palliated, but I felt nuts. I felt like I could, I wasn't a great mom because my kids were so little, and if they spilled a glass of water on the counter, I would like lose my mind. So I knew that it wasn't a sustainable thing, and I was only 34 at the time. And I have a whole long life ahead of me. I can't be pill popping and sick like my grandma was. So um I I knew that there were other people who had changed their diet and had reversed autoimmune. And so I wanted to not just palliate my symptoms. I wanted to actually address the underlying root cause of what was going on in my body so that I could get rid of it. It was like a poltergeist. I wanted to exorcise the demons out of my body, and that's essentially what I did, and what I talked about in my TED Talk.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Okay, so what were kind of the pillars of you getting better? Diet, clearly, and I guess maybe what were the nuances of the diet that helped you get better?
So I had to learn what specific foods were inflaming me. And obviously there's foods that inflame everybody, the seed
Mhm.
oil, fried foods, the refined sugars, the overly processed, everything in a package, a box, a can, with tons of sodium and all of the GRAS, which are generally recognized as safe in small doses by the FDA, but really are not safe in large quantities. So there's over like 2,000 GRAS, which are uh, not allowed in pretty much every other country except for the United States. So there's all sorts of toxins in our food. Our farming and our agriculture is really a broken system. And we are living in like a dust bowl in America. Our soil is just not nutrient dense. We have crop dusted every nutrient and mineral out of our soil. And so I had to really educate myself more than just making those changes. And then once I got myself educated, I literally took like almost every single food out of my diet. I lived off of supplements and shakes for about 3 months. And then I reintegrated one by one different foods back into my diet, ranging from fruits and vegetables to, meat, poultry, fish, grains. And I had to practice mindfulness because I didn't know about all the diagnostic tests that are out there that make this whole process a lot easier. So I would literally be sitting over my plate with 3 little kids running around screaming their heads off, thinking, okay, is this carrot going to bother me? So I'm going to eat this carrot, and I'm going to wait 4 days, and I'm going to see if I feel any pain. I'm going to see if I break out in a rash. I'm going to see if I have night sweats. I'm going to see if I have bloating or diarrhea or something that happens after I eat this carrot. And it was a nightmare of a process. But at the end of the process, I not only learned what I can and cannot eat. And now I have a diagnostic test that just is like, it's like cheating. You prick your finger and it tells you all of this data. But also the supplements and living off of those shakes help to heal my gut, because I didn't even know the first thing about leaky gut, which is a massive inflammatory trigger. And I had to get more mindful. I started practicing breath work and meditation, and went to see like a Reiki practitioner and a hypnotherapist to get my mind right, because it was such a stressful process to go through. But I was so determined. You have to get your mind right. Stress is also a massive trigger of inflammation, and inflammation is really the root cause of all evil when it comes to autoimmune conditions specifically.
Yeah.
Chronic inflammatory conditions are the leading cause of death worldwide every year, and have been even prior to the pandemic. So I would love to say that I made some really strategic changes in my life, but I just tried everything. It's like that Shakira song, try everything. That was I literally tried everything. I'm like, if you want me to stand in my head and say the rosary 25 times, I will do that. I will do whatever it takes to get myself better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know that feeling. Yeah. And sometimes I've tried yes, so many things at one time that I don't know what's working. Like, oh, something's working, but I tried like 5 new things. So I don't know what the thing is that I'm doing. So, yeah, I know that feeling. Just kind of like throw everything at the problem, hoping something works. So, yeah, so it sounds like diet, stress reduction, mindfulness, mindset, were all key for you. And you changed your job situation as well.
I
Is
had
that
no choice. I mean, I was
yeah.
not employable
Mhm.
during that time.
Yeah.
And I've had a hard time since then, being employable in the same way. I think we have this expectation that we are super women and we can do it all. We can run a household, we can take care of kids, we can work and provide and, live an abundant life. And sometimes that's just not possible. Um, and I think I've actually just started to realize that this year, after 10 years of really struggling. Like, I was such a badass. I have a thing in Cranes. I was in Cranes, New York, a top entrepreneur in Forbes. And I was like on TV. I was on stage constantly talking about different technology. Like, I was really at the peak of my career in my 20s and early 30s. And it always feels like there's something missing, but now it's being filled with it's not a pocket filling feeling anymore. It's a purpose feeling, fully
Mhm.
filling feeling.
Right.
Easy for me to say. But I know that maybe it's not just like, the story doesn't end with me.
Mhm.
And I will share more about my daughter, because she's just like
Yeah.
all 3 of my daughters are these magical rainbow children, unicorns. And I don't know how I got so lucky and so blessed to be chosen to be their mother. But I think that as parents, we are also put on this planet to bring other life to the world. And like the Whitney Houston song, I'm just gonna, do this podcast in songs, all my little diva songs.
I'll have to add some songs later.
Exactly. I can sing them if you want. No, I'm just kidding. But children are our future. And so sometimes we go through stuff in our life so that we can be better versions of ourselves, so that our children can learn from us and take the torch that we're passing off to them when our body expires, and allow them to do something even more magical and continuously elevate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Yeah, so tell me more about your daughter's experience, kind of like what were some of the struggles that she was having and how you helped her get through it.
Sure. So we didn't really know anything was going on with her until she was about 3.5. And she started getting like chronic infections. And what we originally realized was that her muscles were just not functioning properly. Like she was a little bit later to walk. She was very large, and I'm a very slight, small person, and my older two daughters were, teeny tiny. So she at 6 months was the same weight as my 2.5-year-old. So she was a large child. So we learned over the course of lots of testing and doctors and all of that she was born with low muscle tone, probably from the medication that I was put on while I was on bed rest for 6 weeks, which was originally safe in pregnancy, but no longer safe in pregnancy. So, but you live and you learn, and she went through that also for a reason. And I hate to sound like one of those woo-woo people, because I would do anything to literally take the pain away from her. But because of her journey and because of the beautiful gift of her life, she's actually been able to change her mentality. She was, up until March, she was identifying as the sick kid because it was getting her out of school early to go to the doctor to do biofeedback, or to do some diagnostic testing on her muscle function. She was spending more quality time with mommy in the kitchen, and at the grocery store, and she was getting special gifts and special treatment. And she actually realized at age 7 during a hypnotherapy session that she was anxious attaching to being the sick kid. And it wasn't until March, about 6 months after that, when she was 8, that she had another experience with a bioenergetic technology company in the biohacking space, which I didn't even know was a thing until just a few months ago. And she came out of her experience with this bioenergetic technology, which was like pulse electrofrequency and near and infrared light. And she had a molecular hydrogen cannula in her nose. And it was a very short, like bed experience. So there's near and infrared light and guided meditation, breath work. And she came out of it, and she actually sat by my friend's pool and meditated for almost 2 hours. And she came out of it and said, Mommy, I realized that I'm not the sick kid anymore. I know that I realized that I was attaching to that about 6 months ago, but now I realize that I'm the healer. I saw very clearly my spirit animal is an orange tiger. And so we looked it up real quick on Google, and it said, this is the healer's spirit animal. And she's ferocious in her commitment to being that healer. And so after just a couple of months, she, like, every day she was talking about, what can I do to become a healer? And she had a Reiki master working on her. So she's already level 1 certified as a Reiki master. And she did it while she's still 8. She just turned 9 a couple weeks ago. She wants to be a real certified Reiki master by the time she's 16, which is totally possible. I mean, anything you put your mind. We just recorded, we had a crazy Thanksgiving, lots of big family, loud. And I was like, where's Bryn? Where is she? And she was in the dining room just last week. And she was meditating. She was doing breath work and meditating at the table while we're all like whooping it up and having so much fun.
Wow.
And so I took a video of her. I said, Brittany, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm practicing my 6 favorite breath works. Do you want to see? And she goes, can you film me? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I filmed her. And, I honestly, I'm like, while I'm watching her and trying to film her at the same time, she's coming up with, different things that she's learned and putting her own spin on it. And she's so connected now because she's had to go really deep inside of her body and feel how she's feeling. And then she's now able to like energetically address any things that come up. And she's off all medication, all supplements. She's not even doing biofeedback anymore. Like, she's perfectly healthy.
Wow.
Those are functioning properly. I mean, she's still doing occupational therapy, but now she's doing Reiki on herself. So every night before she goes to bed, she does Reiki, and then she brushes off any negative stuff. She says her prayers every night before she goes to bed. And when she's talking to people, like she can read the energy that they have too, but she doesn't take it on. I mean, I don't know how this kid came to be my child, but I watch her and I'm like, I'm learning so much from you throughout this whole journey. And the doctor said that she would have to be, on medication for the rest of her life. Same thing that they told me. And I talked about this in my TED Talk, and this is probably why my TED Talk is unlisted. So you can't just go and find it. You actually have to go follow me on Small Hinges on Instagram, or go to smallhinges.health and you can see the TED Talk. But they wouldn't list it because we had such a miraculous, we kind of defy modern medicine in our story. And I know a lot of people who also have defied modern medicine with more functional, but I really am a firm believer in the combination of all the things. Whatever is good for you is good for you. There is no good for the gander is good for the goose solution that's out there.
Yeah.
My daughter's biology is different today than it was 6 months ago. Same with yours. You and I, every body is different. Your body's different from mine, but also your perspective and your spiritual energy is different too. Throughout your life. So it's important to figure that out. And my daughter was able to kind of self-identify exactly what she needed and continues to do that so that she can optimize her future.
Wow. That's so powerful to see in someone, in anyone, but especially that age, to really tune in and recognize what she needs. So yeah, I can only imagine what that's like as a parent to just, see that unfolding before your eyes. And all the progress she's made. So yeah, go ahead.
Is not your typical youngest child. And my older two are also very attuned, and they all just love each other so much, and they're so supportive of each other. And we're constantly we play a lot and we learn a lot, but they're just normal kids at the end of the day, on the trampoline, talking to their friends, playing with dolls, all of the things that typical children do. But at the end of the day, when we're going to bed, we all say our prayers and what we're grateful for every single night before they go to sleep. They always say thank you for each other.
Aw,
it's the best.
Sweet. The best. Yeah, I bet. Aw, it's really touching. So kind of when you look back at what really helped your daughter, sounds like you made some diet changes as best you could with her. But did you do any radical diet changes or?
No. So
yeah,
she has probably eaten 5 goldfish in her whole life. She doesn't eat that type of food. She'll have ice cream and other things, but we try to keep it as clean as possible, knowing the source. Obviously when she goes to a birthday party, and when they go trick-or-treating on Halloween, they come back with a bunch of candy, but she's always rationing it out. She'll have maybe a tiny snack Ziploc bag full of candy throughout the whole year. She's not eating pounds of sugar. But we were able to do this food inflammation test on her. So I actually pricked her finger, and she had some, and this has happened with the hundreds of people that I've also worked with and tested. And I also work with other practitioners to do the test as well. Fruits and vegetables come up. My top 2 right now are bananas and vanilla.
So weird.
I also broccoli on my list, asparagus on my list, pineapple, and unfortunately coffee. I know it's a killer. It's killing me. But
Yeah.
we're able to remove those things from her diet. So typically for an adult, there's different levels because it's not just measuring IgG, which is like the food inflammation reaction, but it's
Mhm.
looking at IgA also, which is more of like the pathogen, the antigen, the
Mhm.
antibody, and then it's looking at the complement C3d protein. So when your body is constantly being triggered with an inflammatory food, even if it's bananas, like I was putting bananas in my smoothies every morning, thinking, oh, I'm doing myself a favor, potassium and energy and natural sugars and all that stuff. But no, so I would take, I would typically say anybody who's like very reactive, take it out of your diet for 8 weeks. But with a kid,
Mhm.
their bodies are like they're the energizer bunnies and they're just able to adapt so quickly. So she had eggs and chicken and strawberries were her highest, and I think spinach too. So we took those out, and I think like bulgur wheat and some other random things. So we took most of those out of her diet, and it was almost like a 4-day change. Typically, people will see results over the course of like the first 2 or 3 weeks, in terms of like reducing bloating and healing any sort of skin rashy issues and sleeping better and having more energy and um, all of like the good stuff. But with her, it was like within 4 days, I'm like, oh my God, this kid is
Yeah.
functioning at a much higher level. So we got her to like the 10-yard line and we just couldn't get her fully into the end zone with her health.
Mhm.
And so that's when the bioenergetics came into play. So obviously the biofeedback was really helpful. They would put
Mhm.
leads over her body and she would do different exercises to control a video game, with different parts of her body to help strengthen those muscles. And that's typically what biofeedback is. And then with the bioenergetics, it's stimulating ATP. So near and infrared light and molecular hydrogen, it basically flushes your body with ATP. So for every one of our cells, we have 4 to 6 mitochondria that support it, that provide it with energy. So from a fuel perspective, when you are eating the right foods, your mitochondria is like, woohoo, we're going to take this fuel, this glucose, and we're going to convert it into energy for your cells to help them heal, or to keep them healthy. And as adults, we typically are running out of ATP. We have like a pint of it on reserves at any given point. With kids, they have tons of it. So
Got it. Okay.
when you are talking about like bioenergetics and flushing a body with ATP, it can push them over the edge really quickly. Whereas you and I might need
Yeah.
many sessions, um, in addition to that healthy fuel to get our cells regenerated.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So kids are going to respond a lot faster, it sounds
Totally.
like, yeah, to bioenergetics or biofeedback. Yeah. Super interesting. Yeah. I'm not that as familiar with bioenergetics. So that is really interesting to hear. And was it a specific name device that she was using or
So it's called the Immortal Chamber,
immortal?
AMMRTAL. And it's there's a lot of efficacious research around each one of the modalities in that stack, that are in that. It's basically like a bed. Chamber sounds like such a scary device, but it's actually a really cool,
Yeah.
looks like a spaceship type of device. And she's done, I think, 3 sessions. We actually did one together sitting side by side, which was really cool, in the chamber. And we held hands and she placed her hand on my heart and I placed my hand on her heart, and just all
Oh,
the,
wow.
it was such a powerful experience. But yeah, the Immortal Chamber, they use all of the research that's done around near and infrared light for healing. That's
Mhm.
in NIH studies and all that kind of stuff. They use that frequency of red light,
Mm. Okay.
vibroacoustic pulse. So there's not a whole lot of research about what happens when you put them all together, but I'm hoping that, because it is a nascent stage technology, that there will be more research that's done, in clinical studies, because it's pretty powerful. In just a 30-minute
Yeah.
session, uh, you feel like a different person.
Wow. So interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look more into that. I love learning about all the new technologies. So, Lindsay, this really inspired such a career change for you. You created this food sensitivity test, correct? So, and what is an or
I
yeah,
found
tell me more about that.
test.
Oh,
So I looked at a bunch of them, and
okay.
so I started small hinges because I'm a
Mhm.
big believer that small hinges swing the big door of positive change. You don't have to change everything to change everything, like I did. Don't do
Yeah.
it. Do it better. So I went back to kind of my roots in data and AI and marketing, because I used to use data to in like AI and machine learning for better output in marketing. So that would
Mhm.
a big project that I was involved in the 2010s was, that ad unit, if you went to go purchase something online, if like you went to go purchase this hair tie or something
Yeah.
online, and
Uh-huh.
you didn't purchase it, you would see an ad with this hair tie following you around the internet. Yeah, I'm sorry, the first person to create that technology. But the same is true for our biology. So if you identify through your like biological testing, you find the most efficacious data, and then you say, okay, well, here's the small things that I can do based off of that data to optimize my health, not
Mhm.
optimize media campaign, but optimize my health. And so what I found is there's tons of diagnostic tests that are out there around food inflammation, but they usually only look at one variable or another. And you can't really look at just one variable when it comes to this type of inflammatory trigger. And this test not only does it look at IgG and IgA and complement C3d protein, but it also looks at your gut health. So it's looking to see if you have any sort of gut permeability, because a lot of people don't know this, but your gut lining, and your gut is like the size, if you took your gut out and rolled it out, it's the size of a football field. But your lining of your gut is only the thickness of a single piece of human hair. So it's very susceptible
Wow.
to damage. And the things that damage it are sodas, sugars, but also endotoxins, mold, stress. Stress is a big one that just erodes your gut lining. And so this test also looks at, is there candida present in your blood, zonulin, occludin, LPS? Those indicators can also tell you if you have to do certain things to fortify your gut, certain probiotics, certain juice cleanses or supplements, or like those shakes that I was drinking. Those were really helpful in fortifying my gut. I love the Zach Bush has the ion supplement, which is basically my kids are like, can we have shots of dirty water? I'm like, yeah, we can have shots of
Right.
dirty.
Yeah.
Because like I said, our country is a dust bowl and our soil is nutrient deficient. So getting some nutrient dense soil based pre, post, and probiotics into your
Mhm.
digestive tract to help heal that gut lining, that good
Mhm.
healthy layer of our gut, is so vitally important to helping us heal from all different types of diseases. So it's not just knowing what specific foods, it's also having the data on the health of your gut, which can also impact your brain. So anything that's passing through that gut barrier can also travel through the blood-brain barrier and lead to all sorts of things, like not just anxiety and depression and sleeplessness and other neuropathic issues, but also early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, and other things like that. So it's really important to understand your gut, your food inflammation triggers, and to work with a practitioner to fortify your gut and to remove those foods. And the cool thing about being a culinary medicine chef, so I did this program that was actually for doctors. I don't know how I got snuck myself in, but
Uh-huh.
it's a program through the Culinary Institute of America and the Harvard School of Public Health. The cool thing about doing that program alongside all of these doctors is that I realized that doctors don't know the first thing about food.
Yeah. Oh,
They're
I know. Yeah.
they're 80% of doctors, maybe even more, don't know the first thing about eating healthy. And it's such a vitally important part of life. You know, it's like, do you want to drive a Pinto or do you want to drive a Ferrari? You're not going to
Yeah.
put corn oil into a Ferrari. You're going to put the
Right.
best possible into a Ferrari. And so if you see
Yeah.
yourself as a Pinto, yeah, keep putting your McDonald's and other stuff into your body. But if you want to see yourself as a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, you're going to put good stuff into your body.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. And I try to use that with my son, my 12-year-old. Like, it matters. It really does. Like a car. Um, so Lindsay, what are just maybe a few of the small hinges that people can make to start changing their health? Just those small things that feel doable.
So everybody always laughs at me because the first thing that I share is not what they expect. So the first thing I share is what I do with my girls every night, which is having an attitude of gratitude, because stress literally is the worst thing for your health. It's worse than anything else. And so before you go to sleep at night, and first thing when you wake up in the morning, just pray to whatever God you believe in, universe, spirit, or just say it out loud to somebody in the room or to yourself what you're grateful for. Because when you are coming from a place of lack, or you're going to bed with all the worries weighing you down, your body can't do what it needs to do in order to repair itself, because you sleep so that you can heal. And we need a lot of sleep. So that's number 2 is sleep. Lots of things disrupt your sleep. Have your phone up against your face right before you fall asleep, or first thing in the morning. If you turn on social media, you're saying hello to the world of billions of people, and you're allowing all of that energy and all the blue light, and it's just very disruptive to your endocrine system. So sharing gratitude, getting sleep, and then getting your data is really obviously very important. You don't necessarily even have to do the food inflammation test. I highly recommend it, and I actually provide coaching if you do the test through Small Hinges. But just being more mindful about what could be affecting your body. I mean, obviously it's hard in this chaotic life to like turn everything off and just sit, like I was saying, is this carrot going to hurt me? But just being a little bit more mindful about putting in your mouth, before you put it in, is this going to be harmful or beneficial to my body? And then the 4th is probably water. We definitely need water as humans. I drink, this is about 60 ounces. I typically tell people it's not just about the water, the amount of water, because every health coach on the planet will say drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day. It's also about the quality and the timing of drinking. So one quick small change that you can make with your water intake, I didn't realize I needed some. I drink water between meals. I don't drink while I'm eating. And the reason for that is you're flushing out all of the good digestive enzymes so that you're not actually breaking down your food properly.
Makes a lot of sense.
So try not to drink water for 10 minutes after you eat or 10 minutes before you eat. And I know it's hard for a lot of people who are like eating spicy food or salty foods or fried foods. But as you clean up your diet, you'll need less water while you're eating.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes complete sense, but something that, we've never really been told before. So I love those tips, and they're all doable for sure. So thank you for sharing. Well, Lindsay, where can listeners learn more about you?
So I am at Small Hinges on Instagram and Facebook. And then my website is smallhinges.health. And you can email me at info@smallhinges.health anytime. It actually goes directly into my inbox. So I always love to hear from people, even if, you just have a couple of quick questions or whatever. And then I've also created a partnership with my very good friend Yelly. It's called Wellness Eternal. So it's wellnesseternal.com. We are creating a directory of all things wellness. So all the biohacking technologies, which glucose monitor should you use? Which biological age test should you do? Which infrared bed is the best one? And so it's kind of like, it's going to be the Yelp of biohacking. And it's also going to be lots of practitioners, but
Yeah.
it's a resource for anyone who is looking for additional help outside of your bioindividual needs. So, and it can also help with like different diagnostics. And do you have mold? That we did a partnership with the Got Mold guy, and so that's another place you can go. It's not quite live yet, coming in 2024. So sign up for the early notice on that one if you want to learn more about everything else, not just the food sensitivity stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fascinating. And it's so needed, a resource. People are constantly, asking me like, where can I find this? Where can I, who are practitioners that do this or that? So I'm excited to see that. So, well, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You're sharing your personal story and your daughter's story, and congratulations on all of it, the breathtaking turnaround in your health, your daughter's health, and look forward to hearing that she is like a fully certified Reiki practitioner in a few years. She's gonna like be amazing. So and likewise look forward to seeing where your journey continues to take you. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Stacey. Thanks for providing this amazing platform for me to share my story. I really, truly appreciate it. You're a godsend.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Take care.